Hey, kia ora and welcome everybody. My name is Eri Rakanui and this is Big Life Mindset, a podcast where you can learn how to live a life you love so that you can love life more. This podcast is in the top 10% most shared worldwide on Spotify. Unfortunately, I've also been able to coach winners of the Westpac Bank Innovation Award. I coach people to be more confident at work and in their personal lives. And I also live a life that I absolutely love. Today's guest is joining us for part of the Living Your Passion series. Now, the Living Your Passion series is where we invite female guests to come on and talk about some of the challenges that they've had in chasing their dreams. With this next guest, she is also able to help other women to chase their dreams as well and taking quite a unique angle on it. So I'm absolutely pleased to be able to introduce Liberty Edwards. Liberty Edwards is the Selfie Coach. She helps women become the face of their brand and attract their dream clients through social media and online marketing. I love that. She teaches people how to take incredible selfies. Like that is a skill set in its own, folks, and turn those into a brand that oozes confidence and charisma. Her mission is to help as many women as possible feel confident and beautiful in their own skin and show the world what they're truly capable of. Liberty, how's it going?
Oh, I'm so great. Thank you so much for having me.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I am a mom to two. I am very busy all the time, and I rediscovered what my passion was um, when my children were hitting their independent age, and I had a little bit more time for myself, and realized that I wanted to add things to my plate. Well, I wanted to do a little more to help other women rediscover what they wanted to do with their lives, as well as be a mother to my children.
Nice. Having kids, how old are the kids?
They are 12 and 17. They just recently had birthdays in December and last Sunday. So this is a new age for us with new challenges, but I know it's going to be fine.
No, that's all good. That's all good. Now, whereabouts in the US are you?
I live in Missouri, which I
Mhm.
feel like is the very center of the United States. If you look at a map or a traditional map, I guess it's like that center state.
Now, this is from a
Uh,
person who's reasonably geographically illiterate about the US. Do they call that the Midwest or is that the mid? What does the phrase that
it
people use
is,
to describe it?
it's actually called the Midwest, and Missouri is known as the gateway to the West in our like history books and everything that they were teaching us. When people started settling to the West, they would go through St. Louis, which is where the arch is, and it's known as the doorway or the gateway to the West, even though it's in the middle of the country.
And you were saying it's snowing.
It's actually icing here, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen it ice, or it's called sleet. It rains little balls of ice,
Oh,
and
what?
when they hit the ground, yeah, yeah, it's have you do you have Dippin' Dots where you live, like little ice cream balls? No.
No.
Okay, it's kind of like a
Maybe.
snow cone falling from the sky. Uh, Little chunks of ice, and then when they hit the ground or the trees or the wires, they melt together and just form a barrier of ice on everything.
It sounds pretty but painful.
It it's extremely beautiful, but it disrupts a lot because if it you can't drive on it, you can't walk on it, you can't. A lot of times the Wi-Fi doesn't work. It's great.
Good to look at though. Good to look at. Hey, look, I
Mm.
wanted to mention as well, like hopefully if anybody's joining us on Spotify or my YouTube channel, when Liberty and I first spoke, Liberty has a poster on the back of her, behind her, that I can see right now. And I asked Liberty to take a photo of this poster because it caught my attention and I loved it so much. And I put it out onto my social media and the amount of people commenting on it, particularly women, it was awesome.
Mm.
It was so cool. Uh, did you want to read some of it out? Like you don't feel like you have to read all of it. What is the last three words on this poster?
You go, motherfucker.
Yeah.
It's it's a good reminder to me. As a woman, I'm taught often that my role in society is to be a soft, nurturing um, person. And especially as a mother, I'm trying to be soft and nurturing and caring to my children. But what I found when I stepped into my own business world was business world is not very soft and caring. And there are times where I have to be a lioness and I have to be willing to fight tooth and nail for what I believe in. And I have to be strong enough to fight for the women that I am coaching and trying to help move forward. So that poster really helps me get in that mindset of, okay, we can be soft, but we're also a strong ass lion.
Nice, nice. Now tell me about some of the people that you work with. What's a typical client? What's a typical person that might be looking out for some of the Liberty Edwards touch?
Um, I tend to work with women who are between the ages of 30 and 60, who sort of, a lot of the women that I actually have worked with are either currently stay-at-home mothers looking for a little bit more self-fulfillment in their passions and what they're good at, or the women whose kids have already left the nest and they're trying to re-find their purpose. I coach them through finding their confidence, remembering that they are more than just a mom or a wife, remembering that their dreams really matter and that they're worth going after. And a lot of that centers around first their idea or their remembering that they themselves are worthy and enough and that they deserve the right to follow whatever their passions are. And that comes with confidence. And confidence comes after they see selfies of themselves. It's kind of a step process.
Hmm. And what about when people, because everyone's taking selfies, right?
Mhm.
The number of people, like an observation that I have when I see a number of selfies that get posted or of group photos that get put up, is that it's often a lady that or a female that doesn't smile or won't show their teeth for whatever reason, but it looks like a
Mhm.
confidence thing. Like to my untrained eye, I look at them thinking, oh, people, everyone's got a beautiful smile. Like it's really hard to have in my eyes, I'm looking at a person when they're smiling. I'm not looking at any teeth defects or anything. I'm looking at the energy that they're putting out. Why do you think people
Mhm.
struggle with that aspect?
Mm, I think it's a vulnerability aspect. And the women that I've coached, there are twofold, and I teach them how to smile and how to not smile. When they come to me, their perception of them smiling is um, everyday, friendly, normal person. They all believe, or many of my clients have believed, that if they can sort of master the non-smile, then they will be perceived more um, sexy, confident, strong, less friendly, less just a mom smiling with their kids. A lot of times it's just a mindset thing. And I think also because social media is so prevalent now, and there's an
Mm,
entire generation of women growing up, the generation below us, like I think it's Gen, I don't know what the, I don't know the generational names. Let's just be real. I think I'm a millennial on the cusp of Gen Z, and I think it, whatever, the younger generation. They've already grown up with social media. So many of them are very comfortable in front of the camera, and they're doing celebrity faces or what they see on TV as being sexy, confident. And then there's women in my generation who are, they think they don't know how to master that. So it's something that they feel like they have to master in order to feel like they can put a selfie out. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. It does. Man, that's a lot of mental barriers to overcome just to be able to put something out in this world about yourself.
I think that that's one of the biggest places that I help coach women, is because there are a lot more mental barriers placed on us than I think in general that there are on men. Um, And I don't know for sure because I wasn't raised as a man, I was raised as a woman, but I know that I was taught that if I wanted to be seen, I was too selfish. If I wanted to be like a star, I was trying to be the center of attention. I was often told the world doesn't revolve around me, so step back out of the spotlight. Or my worth is in how good of a house I can clean or how good of a wife I can be. And that's kind of typically what's taught to a lot of women, especially in the US. And that mental load that we carry, that we're only as good as the children we raise or the husband we have or the house that we keep, it's almost in direct conflict to what we experience on the internet and women compare themselves to.
Yeah, yeah, I think I've seen that quite a bit as well. It's that sense of this is your value, like you described. Like if you're able to
Mhm.
drop the kids off, and if your husband has a high paying job and you have the flash house,
Mhm.
then that's how you're assigned your value to society, and it just completely erases the whole person that sits within all of that.
It does. And in fact, I remember specifically being a young child and being at my grandparents' house every Christmas. They would want us to put on a little show. We would play our musical instruments. We would sing for our family. When we opened our clothes for Christmas, they would want us to do a fashion show. We were the center of attention. But I think I hit the age of 13 or 14. And I remember trying to do those things again at Christmas. But this time I was being told I was too old. And now it wasn't about me anymore. And I needed to sit down. So it was very hard to reconcile where my place was when I had been able to shine for so long and then told, okay, it's not appropriate anymore. Now you need to be a grown up and you need to sit on the couch with the other grown ups and um, watch the little kids have fun. And it's time for you to do grown up things. That was a really hard thing in my mind to come across.
Mm. Is it around that age as well where people start to um, it's almost that point where a person goes from being a child into being like this teen slash adult, and it's at that transition point, that's where people start to get sexualized more, right?
It is. And you're sort of told, wear this, don't wear this. You'll be perceived this way if you wear this outfit or if you do your hair this way. Um, and it just gets worse as you get older. I think as a society, we are taking steps to correct all of this toxicity in this mindset that we've been put in. But it's women like me who are 40, I'm 40, women that are 10, like in their 30s, and women that are older than me are still trying to undo everything we were taught about about our clothing and about how we present ourselves and about what it means if we wear this kind of shirt or that kind of shirt. There's a lot to undo.
Yeah, there is a lot to undo. What about when, you look at social media, you open up your social media profiles and you see a person, and it's a model or a person that just seems to be almost feeding into that previous baggage that we're trying to get rid of, where everything's hypersexualized on social media. God, you look at like the most random thing, and then somebody's made, somehow converted into something that it probably wasn't to start with. How much of
Mhm.
that is being, I guess, reinforced by, I don't want to say woman, but just being reinforced by a society that is kind of continually promoting all of that?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because that's actually something that I try very hard to erase. A lot of my clients feel like because of what they see on the internet, because of what they see on Instagram, because of the type of women, the type of posts, the bikini models, the comments that are made under women's posts, all these different things. The clients that come to me, they're afraid to post selfies because number one, they're afraid that it's going to give the impression that they want to be sexualized, or they think that their audience is going to judge them over this. And really, all I'm trying to do and all I want women to do is to know that it's okay to be seen. So when I'm teaching selfies, I'm teaching them that the way other people view them is not as important as the way they view themselves. And that they are just taking up the space that they are allowed to breathe in and take up, and their visibility is what they deserve. And if they take a selfie and they post it and somebody comments on it or sexualizes them, and that wasn't the intention of the poster, then it says far more about the audience and where their mind goes than it does about the poster and herself. And so it's more about reclaiming that power of, this is who I am, and I'm going to post who I am because this is the world we live in, and I'm allowed to take up space, and you don't get to sexualize me or say that I'm selfish or vain for posting selfies, because it doesn't matter what other people think necessarily. It's more about what's inside.
Yeah, I love that comment that you made, that it's okay to be seen. It's just such a, like, that in itself is quite a significant mental barrier for people, guys and girls, irrespective of where on the spectrum. But just look, it's okay for me to be seen, and I totally agree with your point. You know, how other people view you is on them. It's got nothing to do with you. Like that's on
Right.
their mind. Is there a sense of, do women feel that they need to give themselves permission to be able to get to that stage?
Yes, there. It's at first I give them permission, and then they give themselves permission. I think because I'm so outward about posting selfies all the time, and I do I'll do all kinds. I'll do smiling, laughing, maybe a sexy one, maybe a mean one, or I'll be eating or whatever. Because I am allowing myself, just a normal random woman in Wisconsin, in the Midwest, not Wisconsin. I do not live in Wisconsin. That's where my husband's from. It's too snowy there. No. But just a random woman in the Midwest. I'm not famous. I'm not like millionaire. I'm not a Kardashian. I'm just claiming my own space. And because I've given myself permission to just be out there, they start to give themselves permission to be out there. And they slowly begin to put their selfies out there, and we talk about it. They'll come to me. I posted a selfie. I'm very nervous. My XYZ, maybe my mother-in-law is going to judge me about the way I smiled, or the fact that, I have a tank top on and she thinks I should be wearing a sweater. And I will coach her through, like, it's okay. Do you feel comfortable in that shirt? Yes. Does your husband think you're okay wearing that shirt? Yes. Do you feel okay wearing that shirt? Yes. Then her opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't make you a good person or a bad person because you wore a tank top. And we break through those barriers, and little by little, those mindsets kind of go away and the permissions replace them.
It's, you kind of touched on something. I mean, we talked about the impact of social media, that social media has on, how we view ourselves. But it's often not complete random strangers that have the deepest influence on our worldview. It's the people closest to us.
It is. You hit the nail right on the head. It's the people that we love the most end up hurting us the deepest, based on how they think we should be living our lives. To give you an example, I do not ever believe that it is okay to, if a woman posts a selfie that she put makeup on and she's really feeling good about herself, I don't ever think it's okay to comment below and say, oh, I think you look prettier without makeup. Because now you've got her comparing herself to with makeup or without makeup. And she just wanted to share that she was feeling good in her skin, but now she's questioning if she looks ugly with makeup on. Does her makeup look dry? Does it make her look older? Your one little comment, which a lot of times is said in a way that's meant to be like, oh, well, I don't think you need makeup. You're beautiful. That's a seemingly harmless comment. But when it's posted like that, a woman who's on this confidence journey will start to question if she looked better the other way, because in our brains, we're always trying to live up to an expectation that's not really there, but society has pretended it's there. You know, there are lots of commercials about which mascara is going to make your eyelashes look the better and the fullest, and a lot of commercials about which pair of pants can like cinch your waist in tighter, and which shoes are going to make you look the tallest. It's never just be good where you are. It's always
Mm.
a, you should be better, you should be better, you should be prettier, you should be thinner. And those comments from well-meaning family members, usually is what it is, they do a lot more harm than people realize.
Man, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Hey, look, and now that you've mentioned it, I'm like, oh shit, I feel like I've done something. I won't have commented on social media, but I would have said, oh man, I think you're pretty without makeup, not realizing the
Mhm.
implications of what that can do in someone's head. So that's a really powerful takeaway. It's something I'm going to pick up on as well.
And I think that's where it came in. Um, my husband would tell me, "Oh, you look so great in that outfit." And I would laugh it off and be like, "I'm not even fully ready yet." And I would be like, I'm not even ready." And he expressed to me one time that he thought that was me erasing his compliment. And it was, because in my head, society told me I couldn't look good until I was fully put together. So him telling me I looked good in the outfit before I was fully put together, it didn't compute with what I had been brought up to believe. Um, and so instead, now when I compliment someone, I just say, "You look great." Uh, I don't say "you look great," but "you looked great the other way." Even if I think that, I just say "you look great," period, end of story. If they wonder or they come to me and say, "Hey, do you think I look better this way or this way?" I say, "I think you look great both ways. What do you think?" Because I don't want my accidental opinion to weigh so heavily on them.
Oh my God,
And
that's
I
such a
know
good
it
point.
will.
Yeah, yeah, because we take on board a lot more than we need to as well. Like any opinion starts to
Mhm.
influence us, and it's easy for us to say, "Oh, I don't care about other people's opinions." But the truth be it told, like unless you're a narcissist, you're always going to take on somebody else's opinion, and they can weigh heavily.
Yeah. Yeah, I recently lost about 60 pounds. I chose to have some weight loss surgery because my health was deteriorating. I was in a car accident. It was just going to help a lot. And it has. And I recently posted a before and after picture. And in the post, I said, I wasn't even talking about how happy I was with the weight loss. I was talking about, I'm so much healthier. I have so much more energy, and I am not in any pain. And I continued to get comments that said, "Well, you looked great before. You looked beautiful before, and you look great now." And I thought, first of all, I never said I didn't look beautiful before. Their comment is implying that as a woman who is overweight, I didn't look as good as I do now. That was never what I was talking about. But do you see how that comment suddenly,
Yeah,
it's well meaning because they want me to know that they thought I was beautiful all along, but their assumption that I thought I was ugly before is now at the surface. And so it's a mindset that we kind of all need to start to change.
yeah, I love that. That's a really pertinent point. Stand by, callers. I'm just going to push pause on this while I fix up a tech issue, I think. Hang on a second.
Mhm.
Okay, we're back. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that, Liberty. How, if at all, did your view of self change after you'd lost that weight?
You know, it's funny. As women, we deal with a lot, and a lot of our views of ourselves fluctuates day to day based on our hormones, our mood, whatever. I know that most people on the outside probably think that, oh, she got thinner, she fits in these clothes that she likes, she probably feels great. The truth is, I struggled a lot, and I'm still struggling daily because the shape of my face changed in such a way that I struggled to recognize. I've always had round cheeks. I've always had a bit of a baby face, and no matter where I was in weight loss, that the round cheeks were always there. Well, they're not there anymore, and my cheekbones are sticking out more, which again, a lot of women will be like, oh, boo hoo, you have cheekbones. But when I struggle to see who I know I am in the mirror because I look differently, it messes with your mind. So I've had to undergo almost like a what's it called, exposure therapy. I've stared at my face and taken photos and relearned my angles and rediscovered the way I could see myself in a way that would make sense in my brain. And it's often the same kind of reaction I get when I'll talk to someone who's very thin and she's struggling to put on weight because she doesn't like how thin she is. A lot of times she's not bullied, but it feels like bullying because people will say, oh, you need to gain weight, you need to gain weight, you're too thin, aren't you eating any cheeseburgers? And that poor woman is trying every single day to put on weight and she can't. She's going through the same mindset issues as the woman who's overweight and trying to lose the weight. They're both uncomfortable in the body that they're in the moment, and they're trying the best that they can to fix it. And now they're getting outside pressure. So me losing weight, it made me go to an uncomfortable place that I wasn't familiar with. And I had to recognize that that was what was happening, because I started to hide. I stopped taking selfies. I stopped posting on social media because every time I took a selfie and I looked at my face, I couldn't see myself. It's a weird thing in your brain, but it took me a while, and I focused and I knew the steps to take, and I regained the mindset of, okay, this is where we are. This is who we are. Let's find what we can, recognize, and let's move forward with that.
Yeah, that exposure therapy that you kind of touched on, that's actually a really no, it's a really powerful tool as well for public speaking, which might sound strange, but
Mm,
if I'm coaching a person in public speaking techniques, I always say to them, go find a mirror and literally just look at yourself for as long as you
mhm.
can, and then rinse and repeat that process and start talking into the mirror just to get a feel for this is what I look like when I'm talking. And just
Uh,
be comfortable in your own skin. This is what I look
well, it
like,
sounds like you could be
and
a
that's cool.
it sounds like you could be a selfie coach. You're doing the same things.
I
You've
think I need to
got the
work on some of
skills.
my technique. But yeah, it's a thing where I feel just being more comfortable in your own skin. It you can project that, but it's just that bit of, it's almost like the first time you hear your own voice and you think, oh my God, I hate the sound of my own voice. And I feel like every person that's ever walked the earth has thought that. It's like, oh my God, that's what I sound like. It's very similar to that. It's like, well, that's what I look like. Cool. That's
Mhm,
how I look. This is what my body does. This is what my face looks like. Just being aware
mhm.
of ourselves a bit more to help build that confidence, that sense of familiarity.
You're so right, because the first time I ever heard my voice on a recording, I was like, oh, I can't listen to this. I think the difference is the world isn't telling us that we need to fix our voice, that we need to talk higher, we need to talk lower, we need to be slow. But everything about a woman's appearance is up for negotiation everywhere in the world, on the internet, on TV, in a magazine, everywhere. And even for men as well. This t-shirt will make your biceps look bigger. So we think we have to change that. Whereas our voice, we have to deal with it. That's my voice. I can't change it. It's kind of similar, but also very different.
No, that's a good point as well. Just your appearance is everything's up for grabs. Everybody who's got an opinion, and opinion, I say this often, opinions like assholes. Everybody's got one, and some of them are more full of shit than others.
And more of them stink.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. Now, you mentioned your partner, your husband, has kind
Hmm.
of been through with you in this journey. What are some of the things that he's been able to help with? And conversely, what are some of the things you think, oh, actually, we could have done this a different way?
Yeah. Well, when I first started becoming a selfie coach, I knew I needed to start posting more selfies. And I was getting a lot of messages. Hey, you're kind of full of yourself these days. Why are you putting so many pictures online? Or don't you think that that picture should be saved for? So the first time I ever posted a selfie and there was a little bit of cleavage, I first made sure that my husband didn't feel disrespected if I had put it on the internet, because that's just the relationship we have. Not everybody does that, but I did. And he was like,
Hmm.
yes, you're my wife and you look like that. Go ahead. And so I did. And I would get messages. Don't you think it's inappropriate for you to post that? How does your husband feel? That's disrespectful. And it was other people's opinions all over. So we would have regular check ins. Do you feel disrespected by this? Does it bother you that I'm posting this many photos? And he was even there in some of them that when I was still learning to embrace, because I'm a very bubbly, fun person, smiling all the time. But that sensual side of myself, that bold side of myself, that courageous side, I wasn't quite sure how to photograph those faces. So I would take some selfies and I would look at them and I would have my husband look and say, okay, which one of these, do these look awkward? Do these look like I know what I'm doing? Am I pulling this model face off? I pull up a magazine. This is the pose I'm trying to emulate. Does this look like this?
Oh, nice.
And it was very helpful. And he was just very encouraging. Um, One thing I didn't expect to happen is he now is pretty uncomfortable in photos. And one day I said, why don't you ever, why don't you take selfies and send them to me? Because we flirt through text. And he goes, you're the selfie coach. I don't think my selfies are up to par with yours. So I don't feel comfortable sending them. So we worked on his, and um, it's been a really good journey, because when the rest of the world has a thought or an opinion on how I'm showing up, he reminds me who I am, and that everything I'm doing is for him and our children and the legacy I want to leave and the way I want to change the world for our daughter and for my son and their potential kids. And he's just the one opinion that I can really count on to be truthful and coming from a place of love and knowing what I'm trying to do. So I listen to him a lot.
Nice. I like that. There's some really cool points in there. You touched on something. What advice would you give to somebody in helping them to manage their relationships or how they view their friends' perspective of them putting up a lot more of these selfies and whatnot? And the angle that I'm looking for is, a person starts to be a lot more comfortable with themselves. They're putting up a lot more
Mm-hmm.
selfies of themselves, and that can inadvertently or indirectly have an effect on their close network that start to feel like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, they're actually putting themselves forward, and it almost makes them recede into themselves and lose their um, self-confidence.
Mm-hmm. I actually see this a lot. Uh, I've often coached some friends through this. When I first right before I became a selfie coach, before I went into this journey of figuring out how I could look my best, I would see women on the internet and I would feel less than, and I would feel jealous, and I would feel insecure. And finally, when it hit me that the reason I was angry at them for posting selfies was because I hadn't figured out how to be confident yet in myself. So a lot of times what I'll say is that our friends and our family or our followers or whatever, they may have unresolved confidence issues that they have inside. And your confidence of showing up is going to magnify those insecurities for them. And it's going to manifest as anger, as resentment, and as jealousy. And sometimes it may manifest as, by the way, you're doing something wrong and, whatever. Because I was definitely, I lost a lot of friends because I was blamed for issues that were beyond my control that they had to deal with, to keep it mildly. And what I say is to be understanding and to have an open conversation with that person. But what it boils down to is that other person needs to do a little bit of soul searching to figure out what is causing them to feel angry about your presence or you taking up space. It usually boils down to them not feeling good enough to take up space. And sometimes you can get through that by just helping them take a better selfie or showing them how to take a better selfie or inviting them into my Facebook group where we all kind of encourage everyone. I am of the principle, I operate under the principle that I will not diminish my shine to make other people uncomfortable or comfortable anymore. Because if I don't live to my fullest brightness, where I am the most comfortable, if I dim a little bit, I'm doing a disservice to me, to the community, to the world, because every one of us was designed to shine and to be a beacon to somebody else out there who needs it. Are there going to be people that want to snuff out our light? Yes, there is. But if we do that, then we're denying everyone else the opportunity to see or to be led or to be guided by what we're doing. So while I have an understanding for the people who suddenly feel like they're retreating inward, it's ultimately up to that person to figure out why and to come out of their shell. It's not up to me to hide until I can pull you out of your own cave.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's a really cool, like a visual description as well. Like it really isn't up to you to dim your light. And if you do dim your light, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And
Mm,
the world's not getting the full you, and you should be out there on full, on high beam.
yeah, right.
Mm.
We only get one life. And I don't want to be 99 years old in the hospital saying goodbye to my family, knowing that there could have been tens of thousands of women that would be changed in their hearts and their confidence level because I decided I was too afraid to hurt somebody's feelings.
Mm. Mm. So we kind of talked about, the when people are coming into your sphere and they're starting to cotton on, oh, okay, I feel like Liberty might be a good fit. What's the, like, I guess there's obviously subjective, at an optimum level of what that person's self-confidence could look like. What's the furthest away from that point you've had somebody come into your sphere?
Um, I had a woman who I hope I don't cry because her story, she had been she had a sister who was very, very pretty. And so her sister was always the pretty one, the pretty one, the pretty one the whole time she was growing up. And she was always the other one. And then she got married and it was a very mentally abusive relationship. She was put down. I believe her sons were taught how to, like, just because that was how they were raised, they put her down. She was so, her confidence was so low that at her office at work, she would sit in her office with the lights off so nobody could see her because she really believed that she was so ugly that nobody wanted to see her. And I just saw a picture of her posted on Facebook about 2 days ago, and she is standing proud with a friend, and they took a selfie, and she has a huge grin. By the way, she's a very beautiful woman. There's no reason she should have ever been made to feel this way, but she was. And she came to me, and I believe she was already in her 40s when she was like, I want to change this. And she's just living a different life right now. She still struggles. I mean, I think she still has that voice way in the back of her head that says, am I really okay to do this? But to see her taking selfies, putting makeup on, going outside, being in public, it's such a different reality than she had before.
Mm. And I guess, people of our generation, like I'm 43, and that's a lot of programming that has to be deconstructed. And it's not even a clean slate. Like, as we've talked about, our friends and family, society, work are still directly or indirectly contributing to that old programming as well.
Mhm. Yes, right. And so you have to build that muscle, that confidence muscle that can hear the negative things and say, nope, that doesn't fit in here anymore. That one's going away.
Mm, mm. And, I kind of bring it back to the posters that you've got behind you is that sometimes you have to just be this bad motherfucker and say, you know what, I don't
Yeah.
even care about that, or about what you're saying. I couldn't care less, in fact, and almost overassert yourself in your own mind to just keep pushing through all those small, like, noisy signals that people are giving.
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah. They're just distractions. It, really, when you, at first, it's hard. Your heart starts racing, your palms may get sweaty, and you start to think, oh my gosh, maybe I am a bad person. And then you have to say, well, no, no, no. I know who I am. They don't know who I am the way I know who I am. And so then it just easily becomes more and more and more.
mm. Mm. Is there a typical time frame that people work with you?
Well, I do programs, and those usually last 30 to 60 days. And so they'll be working with me very closely in those, in that time frame. But I often have people who will take this course and then take another one or a different one, and they stay in the community because they want to continue to feel good. Because even though we overcome these confidence issues, it's like you said, those outside forces are still around us all the time. And depending on our level of, are we paying attention or not, those can slowly plant and you can start to slide back to where you were and then you rebuild. So I would say that people are generally around me or in my bubble for at least a year before they really think, okay, I'm going to go away now. And to
Mm,
be honest, I don't check my matrix, like my metrics in my social media platform to see if people have left or not. I don't, if they don't leave, or if they leave, I just assume, okay, then I'm not a fit for you anymore, or you've outgrown me, or that's fine.
mm,
I don't put weight on that. I only pay attention to the people that are coming in. If they decide to leave, then they decide to leave. Because again, if you pay attention to the people that are leaving, your brain can start to say, why are they leaving? What am I doing wrong? What did I say? So I just don't even, I assume that they outgrew me, and I'm thankful that they grew and they're gone.
mm, That's a really good point because you can quickly start to associate value or weight to it and then like reflect that onto self. Oh my God, what am I doing wrong? Oh my God, and it's just it's like this never-ending
Mm-hmm.
vortex of things. I wish I had done this. I could have done that better. But actually, the real reason could simply be either the fit was no longer a good one, or yeah, you're very measure of your own success. They've gone forth and they feel more comfortable doing what they wanted to do with life. So, that's a
Yep.
huge sign of approval. Mm. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to ask, what's some tips, what's some practical advice that you would give to people
Mm-hmm.
taking selfies?
Well, lighting is a huge, huge component. You want to make sure that your face is completely lit from the front. Now, this is what I teach to all of my clients from the very beginning. We play around with lighting later in different moods and things like that. But from the very beginning, to nail a good selfie, you need a good bright light in front of you. It could be a ring light or just a window that you have in your home. Um, you need to study the way your face is. So I typically tell someone to hold their phone out in front of you and to slowly move it to the left and to the right and then up and down and watch their face. If they like the way their nose looks when it's over here, then that's where they should be taking the photo, over to the right. If they feel like they get a better chin angle when it's a little bit above their eye level, then that's where they should. But you won't know until you stare at your face for a lot. So I tell people to don't just hurry up and take the photo. Slow down and watch your face as it moves through the camera lens. And then one thing that drives me absolutely bonkers is when people don't look at the camera. You have to look at the camera lens before you take the photo, or you're going to look like somebody, some creepy car salesman that can't look you in the eye. Especially on social media, we're trying to make connections with people and human being people as opposed to, I don't know, AI. And eye contact is so huge because in real life, even when we're on this Zoom, right? I'm trying so hard to look in my camera, even though it's just a black dot on my wall, so that people, if they see this clip, they feel connected to me. I don't want to be looking around because then nobody gets to see me, right? So lighting is good. Practice your angles in your phone and always look at your camera so that people can connect with you.
Well played. Well played. I love that advice. You just reminded me to keep looking at my camera. And you've also reminded me that for some reason I left the light on behind me. I've just like left a previous meeting. I don't know why I left it on, but I absolutely agree. Like lighting is everything I've noticed when you're taking a
Mhm.
selfie, when you're taking a photo. And yeah,
It can,
oh, you go.
good lighting can remove 10 years and 10 pounds off of your face. If you have bad lighting, you will see way more wrinkles, way more like, my favorite is when people accidentally have the light too low and they look like they're at a campfire. And so they look like they have dark shadows under their eyes and they just look like, ooh, scary. Um, that is not good lighting. You want it right in front of your face.
Oh, this is practical gold. I'm enjoying this. I'm gonna have to share this. This is getting turned into a reel, by the way. Like this is like pure advice, straight to the heart of it, straight to the heart of it. And yeah, you're
Perfect.
right. Like just the staring at the black dot of the camera. Like this is a thing whenever you're
Mhm.
welcoming yourself into a Zoom meeting, especially if there's a whole bunch of other people, because it's that eye contact that we look for to build that initial connection. Afterwards, sure, have a look around, but make that initial eye contact,
Mm.
which is just so important.
I was always taught, and this is something that not everybody's taught. In fact, my husband was not taught about eye contact and has an uncomfortable time looking at people in the eyes. I was always taught that you look someone in the eyes when you speak to them, it allows them to feel seen. And the whole point of my being is not so that I'm some wonderful person on a platform. My entire passion and goal is that you feel seen. So I have to look you in the eyes. As uncomfortable as I am staring at this little green dot in my wall, you will feel the warmth because you are looking at my eyes. And that's the goal.
Nice, nice. I love that. What I experienced. So my family's we're Cook Island Māori, and we are islands that came not too far off New Zealand, and it's a cultural thing that you didn't look people in the eyes, and so that's a lot of like programming
Mm.
that had to be deconstructed as well. Like especially an elder, you would not look a person who was older than you in the eyes. You would look down when you were talking, and that would be considered a mark of respect. Well, of course, that didn't really work
Oh.
so well when it translates into the kind of the Western world, especially in a business environment where you look the person in the eye and you continue looking that person in the eye until once again you're finished
Mhm.
speaking. I think one of the challenges, myself and I know many others find is that when you're looking at that little camera, you can't see, you're not getting a lot of the verbal signals back that you would ordinarily get from when you're looking at somebody in the eyes.
Yes. And so here's my tip for that. You look at yourself in your selfie the whole time you're trying to get everything together. You figure out your expression, and then right before you hit the button, you just bring your eyes up to the dot. So you make that connection with yourself. It's kind of funny. I tell people to flirt with themselves all the time. Like, just look like you're
Flirt with
talking to your best
yourself.
friend. Just flirt with yourself, and then look up and take the picture. Just that split second. And it takes a minute to be trained. Like, okay, I'm looking at myself, hit the button. Oh, shoot, I forgot to look up. Looking at myself, look up. And then, but it makes a huge difference. And maybe it's just me because I'm a selfie coach, but I can tell if you're looking at the camera or not when I see your photo in my feed. And unless it is purposefully done to look away for like a fashion pose or something, if you're not looking at the camera, it immediately in my head either does one of two things. It either says maybe this person isn't as trustworthy because like I never would have known it was a respect thing to not look somebody in the eyes because in our culture, if you don't look somebody in the eyes, you're untrustworthy,
Yeah, that's right.
which is weird. Now, if I ever go to another country, I'm going to accidentally disrespect someone. We really need to, I guess I have to study some other things, but
Not at all. Not at
To
all.
keep on my
I like
point,
that.
it feels like you're either untrustworthy online if you're not looking at yourself, or two, I feel like you're not quite confident yet in that selfie. So my brain makes split decisions based on that. And everybody is doing it. Everybody's brain is subconsciously making split decisions of that person based on a selfie within seconds. You have like 2 seconds to catch their attention. So I'm just trying to teach everybody how to put their best face forward in those 2 seconds.
Nice. Best face forward. Flirt with yourself. I love this. This is like packed with practical gold. Um, Liberty, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, how can they contact you? How can they get into your sphere?
Uh, I am on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok.
Mhm.
My website is thelibertyedwards.com. And I have a bunch of links on my website that will take you to my free Facebook community. It will take you to my Instagram, to my TikTok, or to any of the programs I have. I have live group coaching where I'm coaching you right now live, or I wrote an ebook. There's some other little resources that they can just do on their own. A lot of times women like to do a few of those on your own resources before they for some reason women don't want to admit that they want to get better at their selfies. Again, I think it's the notion that they may be judged as being vain or narcissistic for wanting to look better in a photo, but that's just nonsense. You want to look as good as you can in a photo.
Nice, nice. I love
so
that.
so my website is probably the central hub where you can find me in all the different places.
Nice. And just to revoice that, that is thelibertyedwards.com.
Correct. And
Cool.
my podcast, I will be having my own podcast in the next couple months. So that'll be on there too.
Awesome. So what we'll do, folks, is we'll put a couple of links. We'll definitely link to the thelibertyedwards.com and .com in the show notes. So please make sure you check that out as soon as you finish listening or watching this podcast. Liberty, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I've loved the honesty. I love the very practical advice you've given as well, and I can see it benefiting a whole bunch of people. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for letting me feed your audience, to serve them in whatever way I can. It's been such a blessing to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Thanks for now. And I'm looking forward to hearing your podcast as well. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye for now. Awesome. That was Liberty Edwards, and she was so cool to talk to. Really enjoyed that conversation, and I learned a lot. I got to be honest, I learned a lot, and it was enough that the very next day when Debbie and I went for a walk, I found myself regaling a lot of that conversation that Liberty and I had had. All good. So just a reminder, folks, that if you wanted to approach me for coaching, you're more than welcome to do so. The way to do that is to use the link that's in the top of the show notes, book some time with me, and I look forward to helping you live a life that you love so you love life more. All right. Bye for now.